Welcome to Massive Passive Cash Flow, the podcast that guides professionals to financial prosperity. Join our community and let's start building your wealth. Here's your host, Gary Wilson.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's podcast, Real Estate Investing for Professional Men and Women. Podcast for you and I, professional business owner, investors. We like using cash, and it's not that we don't borrow. We use cash first, get the best deals, and borrow later and get better terms. Of course, if you're starting off, you may have to do some wholesaling and things like that. Nothing wrong with that. In any case, if you haven't subscribed, please go ahead and do so. Multiple channels, take your pick. And also, if you haven't done so, go to the website Real Estate with Gary Wilson, okay, and click on members area. If you're already a member, you go to the left, you know what to do. If you're not, you want to check it out, go to the right. And check it out free for 30 days. Grab all the stuff you can grab. Fill up your basket with all kinds of free material, weekly webinars. It's all about us investing. So in any case, we got a special guest today, David Dodge from St. Louis, a fellow investor, wholesaling, buying rentals, flipping, is a teacher, has written some books. So David, it's good to have it on board, man. Welcome aboard, and appreciate you taking your valuable time to share with the guys here.
Hey, Gary, thank you so much for having me. Appreciate you.
You're welcome. Yeah, go ahead and paint a picture, man. Give us, for people who haven't read one of your books yet, just give them some background, and then we can go into maybe a case study or two, you know?
Yeah, I'd love to do that, Gary. So, again, thanks for having me. I'm grateful for your time, grateful for you to have me on the show. My goal is to give your audience as much value as I possibly can in the next 25 to 30 minutes. I mean, that's truly always my goal whenever I'm recording. So, guys, my specialties are wholesaling, fix and flip, and rental properties. That's really my passion, is rentals. And I love the BRRRR strategy. I achieve all of these via wholesaling, or another way to say would be via direct to the seller marketing. All right. So just to give you a quick backstory, again, my name is David Dodge. My market is St. Louis, Missouri. And as of today, I only invest in my market. I don't do too many virtual things or investing from afar. I started investing 15 years ago, Gary. However, the first 10 years of my investing, I didn't know about motivated sellers. I didn't know about direct to the seller marketing. I didn't know about buying properties at a discount and using, all sorts of creative tools to get in and out of real estate for little to no money. So essentially, for the first 10 years, I bought a property a year, and I started when I was in college. And I went and I met a realtor friend who's still a friend today, and we're partners. And he went and found me a 4-bedroom house on campus where I went to college. And I borrowed money from my grandparents, which was the 20% that I needed to get a loan. And I went and I got a loan, an 80% loan. And I only had, a couple part-time jobs at the time. So I had to have a cosigner too, Gary, but I didn't let any of this stop me. I went and borrowed the 20% to get the other 80% lent to me. So it was all loaned, right? Everything was on loan. And I had a cosigner too, but I did it. And the rent that I collected off the 3 bedrooms was more than, the mortgage. And that's called house hacking. And I learned at a very young age. I was one of the people that, read Rich Dad, Poor Dad at a young age, and I jumped right in. So it was really great to be able to start at the age of 20. I'm 35 now. That was about 15 years ago. And I did that 3 times while I was in college, house hacked. From after college, I just had various jobs in sales and marketing for 6-7 years, and used real estate as a means to just park money. I've never been good at saving money, ever. Never been good at it. Still to this day, I am terrible at saving money. So why not just put saving money on autopilot? And that's what I do with real estate. Once I park some cash there, I leave it be and I let somebody else pay that down. It's just a beautiful thing. It's a way to create wealth without thinking about it. Because if I'm thinking about it, it's not going to happen, right? And that's the problem with most people, is they overthink. And saving is hard. Maybe not just for me, but for most of the listeners too. I would probably tend to think. So anyway, the first 10 years, I was buying retail, paying retail, going through the MLS in an agent, getting loans for 70 to 80%, putting other money into them. And oftentimes I was borrowing the money. And basically I'd borrow the money to get the loan and then work really hard for a year and a half to pay that back. And then I would go do it again. Right? So I wasn't really making money in real estate the first 10 years either. It was just saving. It was just a vehicle to save, right? So anyway, 5 years ago, I learned about direct-to-seller marketing and motivated sellers. Wow, what a crazy concept, right? Motivated sellers. And these are people that are willing to sell their property or their home at a discount in exchange for convenience. And that's it. That's all it is. So if you can learn to market to these motivated sellers, you can get phenomenal deals on real estate. And then once you get deals on real estate, then you can decide what you want to do. If you want to buy them and, keep them as a rental and landlord them, or if you want to, fix them up and make them pretty and then sell them on the retail market, or just sell the paperwork of the contract. And that's another option too. It's called wholesaling. And all of these things are very possible. It makes it much simpler when you have a deal, right? So I learned about wholesaling and direct to seller marketing. And, I basically got 10 properties under my belt in the first 10 years, about one a year. And now I'm 15 years in, 5 years full time, and I have 65 properties. So in the last 5 years, I've acquired 55 additional properties to the portfolio, and most of which were acquired in the last year, Gary. And we did that via the BRRRR strategy. So the BRRRR strategy is just a strategy to acquire a lot of assets very rapidly. That's all it is, really. It's just a way to acquire an asset with little to none of your own money. And in the last, I'd say maybe 18 months, my partners and I have done over 50 BRRRR houses with zero money out of our pocket in the end. So we do a lot of things when it comes to real estate investing. And I know I just mentioned a whole gamut of options, but I really just want to take it back for a second, Gary. I want to talk about how all of these things that I've learned and that I do in the last 5 years are possible. And I said it earlier, and I'm going to say it again. It all starts with a deal. It all starts with getting a deal. Very, very, very few things can happen in real estate that can create a profit, quickly if you're not getting a deal, right? Profits can be created over time, of course. Someone else is paying it down. If you understand amortization tables or just the way that banking systems work, time is on your side. However, you have to wait. It takes a long time. But if you're buying at a discount, you can make a profit on a property very easily. Another way to make a profit on a property is to add value to that property, right? So if you can buy it at a discount and fix it up, you're going to increase that value spread even more, right? So when I say buying at a discount, what I mean is marketing direct to sellers. That's my favorite way to get a discount. Now, do we buy properties at a discount on the MLS? Of course. We maybe get one or two a month here in my market that we can find. And, we buy a lot of other properties as well from wholesalers like myself. And we'll happily pay them a wholesale fee if we can still get a deal on it. But the majority, Gary, the majority of the properties that I'm buying don't come from the MLS, and they don't come from other investors. They come from direct-to-seller marketing that my team and I do. So what does that look like? It looks like direct mail. It looks like bandit signs. It looks like Facebook or Google AdWords, marketing. I actually have some radio ads that I have played on 2 different stations currently. And I also have a full-time staff of a cold caller and a cold texter. And these are virtual assistants, right? And, we will pull lists of, people that we assume to have motivation. Now, not everybody on these lists have motivation, but whenever we pull lists, we assume that they have motivation. So what do those lists look like? Well, death, divorce, disease, right? Something along those lines is what we're looking for. We pull lists of, maybe divorces. We pull lists of landlords that maybe are tired of being landlords. We pull lists of high equity. It really depends on the area. And then we'll skip trace those lists. We'll cold call and we'll cold text those individuals to see if they have interest in selling. And then, of course, direct mail and the radio. So we have a lot of different ways that we go about, finding these sellers. Now, you may think that my budget's like 20 or 30 grand. It's really not. We only spend anywhere from maybe $4,000 to $6,000 a month. Yeah. And I've taken 5 years to scale to that. Now, we used to spend 12 to 14K, and we were doing that for about a year straight. And we've really gotten really efficient, and we've scaled back to 4 to 6, and we're getting the same number of leads because we've gotten way more efficient at it, right? And our business, we wholesale anywhere from 5 to 10 deals a month every month. And really, the reason that we wholesale as many as we do is because we do a lot of direct-to-seller marketing, and we have a motto here, Gary. It's kind of funny, but it's keep the best, sell the rest. It's so simple, right? Keep the best, sell the rest. And when we wholesale 5 to 10 deals off a month, those are the best, right? So the best ones, which may only be 3 or 4 or 1 even in a month. It depends on the month, right? But the best ones are the ones that we say, hey, let's keep that, make it a rental profit, or it's very, very low risk. The ones I like to flip personally have little to no risk, meaning I could screw up the project. It could take 3 times as long and go double the budget, and I'd still break even, right? Those are the ones I like to flip because it reduces the risk, right? Not necessarily the ones that have the biggest spreads, but the ones that have the least amount of risk because it's fun too, right, Gary? And then again, sometimes we'll take them and we'll add them to the rental properties, right? So you have all these options when you learn to buy them direct. So what does that look like? And I refer to it as wholesaling, but really wholesaling is just a form of real estate flipping. Buying direct, is going direct to the seller and getting the deal. So how does that look? You got these, all these listeners that are like, wow, Dave's really pumped up about this, but what does he mean? How does this work? Well, it's simple. Wholesaling is nothing more than finding a motivated seller, offering them a service to buy their house. And there's really 3 key points here, right? We are going to offer them convenience in exchange for a discount. So when I'm on the phone with the seller and they're not willing to offer a discount, I'm not willing to offer convenience. There's not much I can do to help them. But if they are like, man, I got to sell this, make me an offer, and they're willing to take a discount, then I'm willing to open up the floodgates on the convenience. I mean, I'm talking above and beyond, right? So there's 3 things that I can do. I can pay cash, which allows me to close quick, and that's number 2. And then number 3 is have the ability to buy it as is. So no repairs, no little to no inspections, but no updates or repairs or costs on their end. And the cash aspect really leads into the quick aspect because I don't need to go get financing and I don't have to have appraisal or inspection contingencies, right? So that's the convenience that I offer when I go direct to the seller. It's so simple. And really, if you look at it like this, real estate is not that liquid of an asset, right? It's not like a stock where you can just click a mouse and 3 days later the money's in your account, right? However, there's a lot of ways to go about selling real estate. But to make it liquid, you really got to work with an individual like me or like you that's willing to give you crazy amounts of convenience. So when I, talk to a seller and I say, hey, list it on the MLS, I would be surprised if you're going to be able to get this like cash in your pocket in a month. You're probably looking more like 2 to 2.5 months. After the time to wait, all the negotiations, they are most likely going to have contingencies on top of financing requirements. It just takes time. So, 2 to 2.5 months is like relatively fast in the real estate world. Well, we can do something in 2 to 3 weeks, right? So really what we are doing is we are providing the liquidity to a market that doesn't have much liquidity. As a wholesaler, and you may have not heard it this way, Gary, but I really, really think that this is how I view it. We are just the liquidity makers of the real estate market. That's it. That's all we do. And how do we do it, guys? We provide convenience in exchange for a discount, right? I am so blunt, so passionate, but so blunt and so transparent about this eye-opening, thing that I'm seeing here that I tell sellers when they call. Hey, I'm Dave with House Sold Easy. Thanks for calling. I'd be more than happy to come out and take a look at your house, even make you an offer on it. But I don't pay retail. Gary, I add that in on the very first sentence of my calls. I do it because I want people to know, don't waste my time. I don't want to waste yours. I can make your life incredibly simple and maybe even awesome by helping you solve problems. But I'm not going to do this for free. I'm a business, and I have the ability to go buy any house out there. Why should I work with you, right? If you are going to give me a discount, then I am going to give you as much convenience as I possibly humanly can. Right? And that's really what it comes down to. And by doing this and by going direct to the seller, you get what's called a deal. And when you get a deal, you can sell the paperwork. You can fix and flip it with your partners or your spouse or yourself or whatever. Or what you can do is you can go rent that property out, do a small rehab, increase the value so much that between the discount and the value being increased that you don't no longer need a 20 or 25% down payment, and you can refinance it and you can acquire assets with none of your own money after 2-3 months of going through the BRRRR strategy. So there's so many ways to do it. To me, it's a means to an end. I don't want to work forever, Gary. I'm sure you probably don't even work all that much anymore, right? And I don't have to either. I got 65 properties, but I enjoy real estate investing. I really do. And here's the thing about wholesaling or direct to seller marketing, guys, it is so incredibly simple. All right. Now, just because I say it's simple doesn't mean it's easy. Those are two different things. Completely. It's not easy. It's actually quite difficult, right? But it's simple. And once you do a deal or 3 deals or 4 deals or 5 deals and you start to understand the processes, it actually becomes incredibly easy too. It's always the first deal, the first couple that are so hard, right? And usually it's because people aren't doing the right things. And those are the things that are simple, Gary. So as you can tell, I've been talking without a break for quite a minute, but I am so incredibly passionate about real estate investing. It has brought me financial freedom. I love teaching people about wholesaling real estate and investing and flipping and all of these things. So much that, like you said earlier, I wrote a book on it. The book is called The Ultimate Guide to Wholesaling Real Estate. And this is a pretty thick book, Gary. It's 300 pages long, 270 to be exact. I sell it on Amazon. But guys, I'm not here to sell you a book. You know, if you want to go check that out, that's great. But that's not my intentions today. My intentions today are to share with you the companion course that goes with the book. It's online and it's absolutely free. So if you guys are interested in learning about direct-to-seller marketing, to be able to wholesale, to then be able to get a deal, right, and do whatever you want in real estate, check out the free course, Gary. It's freewholesalecourse.com. So it's such an incredible, easy domain, and it is exactly what it is. It's a free course on wholesaling, and it's at freewholesalecourse.com.
Freewholesalecourse.com. Cool. And now, how about how else can people get a hold of you? I mean, you've got a podcast, Facebook page.
Yes, absolutely. So I think the easiest way to get a hold of me would probably be either via my podcast, which is Discount Property Investor. We've been doing podcasts for about 3 years. We got almost 200 episodes out. We've really been launching quite a few lately. We're doing an episode a day right now. I'm sorry, every other day. Episode every other day. So we're really growing the podcast. You can find that at dpipodcast.com. Stands for Discount Property Investor.
Okay.
And also on my Instagram. I would say my Instagram is probably one of my favorite places to connect with people. I use it probably 3 times more than I'm on my Facebook. So if you do want to connect or have questions, connect with me over on Instagram. It's just my full name, David Allen Dodge. Hopefully I'm pretty easy to find. I got about 100,000 followers at this point. So really growing that. I love putting out good content. I love helping people and teaching people how easy, real estate investing can be, right? It's simple, but not necessarily easy in the beginning, but it gets easier. You just got to be, consistent with your marketing efforts, Gary, to get those deals. And then everything else falls in line, right? You don't even need money to wholesale. That's a great thing, right? Now, here's something that I want to really point out, all right? And if you are listening to this podcast or you happen to be watching this podcast, you are going to hear investors and gurus and people just like me, strangers, say, you can do this with little to no money. And that is true. However, here's the catch. You don't get people telling you this all the time, but I want to make it very transparent to people. Here is the catch. Buying and selling the property doesn't require money. What does require money most of the time is marketing to get the deal. All right? No guru tells you that whenever they're trying to sell you their coaching program. Instead, they're like, we're going to show you how it's done. Getting the marketing out the door, that has an expense, right? When I first started, Gary, I was spending maybe $700 or $800 a month. In the first 2 to 3 months, it is an expense. It's a cost. It's sunk. It's gone, right? But I don't look at my marketing as a cost or an expense anymore. Now I look at it as an investment, right? It's an investment in more deals. And the coolest thing about it is, I mentioned earlier, it's simple but not easy. Well, it gets easier when you can start pulling from your deals to fund your marketing. So again, 2 to 3 months is what I tell my students. You're going to have a cost. You're going to have an expense. You may not receive a return, period. Like immediately. But once you do a deal or two, take 10%, take 20%, put it right back. Now you have this thing that starts to snowball, right? And you're no longer having to go find money outside of the business to put in the business. The business funds itself. And that's what's such a beautiful thing about this business, right?
Mm-hmm.
So to clarify, little to no money, yes and no. So actually, I can go out and buy a $700,000 house or put it under contract, right, and control the deal and sell the deal to somebody and make 30 grand with none of my own money. But in order to get in front of that deal to begin with, I'm either going to have to cold call them, go knock on their door, be introduced to them via a referral, or I'm going to have to market my services and my message to them, right? So you got to have one of two budgets, Gary. This is what I like to tell my students as well. You either need to have a monetary budget or you need to have a time budget. Ideally both, because we do both in our business, and I'm sure you do too. But you have to have one or the other. And the cool thing is if you're lazy like me, Gary, right, it's self-funds. So you don't have to do, as much down the road, and you can buy the marketing. I would rather buy it than spend 15 hours a day cold calling, right? I'd rather send my message out to other people and have them call me. But don't forget, whenever I'm on the phone with these people, and you should do the same, be transparent about your value, right? Do not go above and beyond and chase a deal and offer a crazy amount of convenience to an individual if they're not willing to trade you that discount that you deserve, right? I mean, it's very, very important. I think a lot of people, they'll get into this business and they'll get into wholesaling, but they don't understand that principle for a year or two. And when they understand that principle, the whole business changes because you stop chasing deals. And it's like the 80-20 principle, Gary. You're going to spend 80% of your time chasing these deals that are going to make you 20% of your profits, and the truly motivated ones that you don't even have to sell. That's the 20% that gives you 80% of the profits. So if someone's not willing to offer you a discount, pull back on your level of convenience. Maybe not offer to close in 3 weeks. Maybe you offer to close in 2 months, right? And buy yourself a crazy amount of time. That's the beautiful thing about leverage is it's just me and another person making an agreement on how we're going to exchange and do some business. Yeah. So when it comes to making terms, there's an infinite amount of things and ideas that we can throw into the situation to provide value and help make it a win-win. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. You're right. A couple points was, be transparent, communicate your intentions up front. So you create the proper expectation, because if you don't do that, your conversion rate is going to drop. People are going to feel like it was the old switch and bait. So I learned.
Not only that, but you're going to waste countless hours driving to people's houses, building rapport, taking photos, right? All to just realize that, maybe that they owe more than what you're willing to pay and they can't bring it to the table. Yeah. Or the home has sentimental value and there's no way in hell they're going to sell it at 70 cents on the dollar. Right? Yeah. So I make it very clear from the beginning. Hey, I'm buying houses in your neighborhood. This is one of my favorite tactics, Gary, is, pull up a Zestimate on the fly. I hate using Zestimates. You may have a different opinion of them, but, it's just a very, very, very broad average, right? But what I do like to do is pull up a Zestimate when I'm on the phone, especially if I'm like in the car and I'm driving and I don't have all these, analytical tools and things to help. I'll pull up a Zestimate and I'll offer 50 to 60 cents on the dollar of the Zestimate because that basically takes into account, subtracting 25 to 35%, for profit and cost, along with the repairs. So what I'll do is, let's say there's a Zestimate of 200. I'll say, hey, I'm typically buying in the neighborhood for, between 100 and 130. Does this sound like something that would interest you? Am I in the ballpark? And if I'm not in the ballpark, I'm not going to really go chase that deal. I may have a VA follow up with them every couple of weeks to kind of see where they're at. Of course, I'll get an asking price, but I always start there. I'm never one to wait for them to tell me what they want because, Gary, in 5 years of full-time doing this, which I know is not that long, not one time have they told me a number that's less than what I've offered. So why even ask? Why even wait for them to say I need 170 on this $200,000 house? It's not going to be below what I'm willing to pay. So I always come in 50 to 60 cents on the dollar, not even including repairs, just the simplest MAO formula there is, times 0.5 or 0.6. And then what I say is, this is the ballpark of what I'm buying in this neighborhood right now, right? Yeah. Okay? if I'm in the ballpark, let's set up a time for me to come out, and I'll make your life incredibly easy. But if you're not willing to meet me somewhere, and here's the cool thing, Gary, when you give those spreads like that and you anchor low, what ends up happening is that instead of them coming in at 170, they know you're at 100 to 130. So maybe they'll say, well, can you do 140? Well, absolutely, if the repairs aren't terrible. But if I'm offering, if I'm starting at 170 and I'm going to set an appointment, getting them down 30 grand's tough, right? So anchor low, know your value, right? And it's hard in the beginning when you're investing, or I should say you're spending on your marketing because it's maybe not coming back right away. But it is an investment, guys. It is. Don't chase the deals that suck. Go for the ones that are great. Keep it simple. This business is simple. And then once you have those properties under contract, you will be able to sell those deals if they're deals, right? If they're discounted. And the money always comes, right? I mean, I've met so many of my private lenders from other investors that I've sold deals to, and they see that I always have deals. And maybe they don't even like doing them necessarily. Like they're older, or they're like, maybe they have a bunch of rentals and they just kind of do it on the side. Well, those are the people that are lending me money now to do my flips and to do my burrs, So it's just an incredible business. And as you guys can tell, I'm super passionate about it. And I love teaching people. So I hope that I've provided, a ton of value. That's always my goal. Learn to buy at a discount, guys. That's really where it's at. I've dedicated a book and a podcast to buying at a discount and teaching people, all the different methods to go about doing it. And it all comes down to consistency. So Gary, again, thank you so much for having me. I'm grateful for your time, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to share some of the knowledge that I've learned really over the last 15 years today with your audience, your viewers, and your listeners.
Hey, David, you're welcome. I appreciate you taking your time too. Hey, if you don't mind, hold up your book one more time so people can take a look, as we do. Obviously, is audio, video. There you go. The Ultimate Guide to Wholesaling Real Estate, guys. David Dodge and Michael Slane. So,
that's right.
And by the way, St. Louis, all time, one of the best real estate investing markets in the United States.
It is a great market. So, like a lot of people struggle. I want to say something real quick, Gary. A lot of people struggle in a lot of markets to be able to find a property that they can use the 1% rule on, right? So if you're not familiar with the 1% rule, it's for rental properties. Yeah. And it basically means that you're going to bring in 1% of the purchase price and rent a month. So if you're buying a property for $100,000, you should be able to rent it for $1,000. In the St. Louis market, we even buy deals at the 2% rule, where we can buy a property for $50,000 that would rent for $1,000, not $500. So yes, you are very right. One of the best markets to invest in. That's why I don't really invest elsewhere. If I can drive 10 or 15 minutes to a rental property, why not? It makes it simple. So again, Gary, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. Hey, David, thank you. And I think I speak for a lot of people when I say thanks again for sharing your valuable time and knowledge. For everybody listening, take David up on his offer. Get the free training course. That's unheard of. Get the book. Go to the website and go visit him on Facebook and Instagram. And also, if you haven't done so, again, go to a Real Estate with Gary Wilson. Click on members area. If you're not a member already, go to the right and get it for free. Get anything you want for 30 days. And we'll see you on the next podcast. You guys take care of yourselves, and God bless.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Massive Passive Cash Flow. Be sure to go to realestatewithgarywilson.com to join our community and start building wealth today.